The security guard's flashlight trembled in his hand as he approached the mausoleum entrance. It was 3 a.m. at Forest Lawn Cemetery, and something was terribly wrong. For weeks, groundskeepers had reported strange sounds emanating from the building where Michael Jackson rested. Tonight, Daniel Martinez decided to investigate himself. He had worked at Forest Lawn for 15 years and never believed in ghost stories, but the reports were becoming impossible to ignore. As he pushed open the heavy bronze door, cold air rushed past him, carrying whispers that made his skin crawl. The marble hallway stretched before him, illuminated only by his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. His footsteps echoed against the walls as he moved deeper inside, passing crypts of Hollywood legends who had found their final peace here. But peace was the last thing Daniel felt. The temperature dropped with each step, and his breath became visible in the frigid air. Then he saw it. The nameplate that read Michael Joseph Jackson was glowing with a faint blue light. Daniel's heart pounded as he approached the crypt. The marble slab that sealed the resting place appeared undisturbed, yet the glow intensified. He reached out to touch the surface, and the moment his fingers made contact, the light exploded outward. Daniel stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. When he looked again, cracks had formed across the seal, spreading like lightning across the stone. Something inside was trying to get out. Or perhaps someone wanted something to get in. Daniel grabbed his radio with shaking hands, but before he could call for help, the cracks widened, and a piece of paper slipped through the opening. It floated to the ground, landing at his feet. On it were 3 words that would change everything. The truth waits. Detective Sarah Chen had seen many strange cases during her career with the Los Angeles Police Department, but nothing prepared her for this call. When Forest Lawn's management contacted the authorities about the incident, she thought it would be a simple vandalism case. She was wrong. Standing inside the mausoleum 12 hours after Daniel's discovery, Sarah examined the mysterious note with gloved hands. The paper was old, aged to a golden brown, and the handwriting was unmistakably Michael Jackson's. Forensic analysts had confirmed it within hours. But this was impossible. The note hadn't existed when Jackson was laid to rest in 2009. Sarah had reviewed every security recording, every visitor log, every inspection report. Nobody had entered this crypt. Yet here was evidence that couldn't be explained. The message on the paper led to coordinates, numbers that pointed to a specific location within the cemetery grounds. Sarah's partner, Detective Marcus Williams, was already there with a team of excavators. She drove through the cemetery as dawn broke over Los Angeles, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The coordinates led to an unmarked plot beneath an ancient oak tree, far from the public areas. Marcus met her at the site, his expression grave. The ground-penetrating radar had detected something unusual below. As the excavation team carefully removed layers of earth, Sarah felt a growing sense of unease. 3 feet down, they hit something solid. It was a metal box, sealed and locked, with another handwritten note attached to the top. This message was longer, more detailed, and it made Sarah's blood run cold. It described a second burial, a secret that Michael Jackson had arranged years before his death. The box contained documents, recordings, and evidence of something that powerful people had worked desperately to hide. The truth wasn't just waiting. It was buried, protected, and now exposed. The contents of the metal box spread across the police department's secure conference room like pieces of a puzzle that had been hidden for decades. Sarah and Marcus worked through the night, sorting through documents, listening to audio recordings, and watching grainy video footage that Michael Jackson had apparently collected over years. The story that emerged was staggering. In the late 90s, Jackson had stumbled upon a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of the entertainment industry. It involved manipulation of artists, suppression of creative freedom, and financial schemes that had drained fortune from countless performers. But more disturbing were the allegations of silence enforced through threats and intimidation. Jackson had documented everything meticulously, knowing that speaking out during his lifetime would destroy him. The recordings included conversations with industry executives, contracts with hidden clauses that enslaved artists to perpetual debt, and testimony from musicians who had been ruined when they tried to fight back. There were letters Jackson had written but never sent, explaining his plan to reveal everything after his death. He knew the risks he was taking. The documents showed that Jackson had arranged for the evidence to be buried at Forest Lawn, with instructions that it should only be discovered if something happened to him under suspicious circumstances. The glowing crypt, the mysterious note, the coordinates. It was all part of an elaborate system he had designed with help from a trusted friend whose identity remained encrypted in the files. Sarah realized they were holding proof that could reshape how the world viewed the music industry and Michael Jackson himself. But as she reached the final document in the box, her hands froze. It was a list of names, powerful executives, and industry titans who had known about these practices. Some were retired, but others remained active, influential, and dangerous. The last page contained a warning in Jackson's handwriting. They will come for this. Protect it with your life. Within 24 hours of the discovery becoming known within the department, Sarah's life became a nightmare. Her phone rang constantly with calls from unknown numbers. Expensive lawyers representing unnamed clients appeared at the police station, demanding the evidence be sealed or returned to the Jackson estate. The media caught wind of something significant happening at Forest Lawn, and news vans circled the cemetery like vultures. The pressure came from every direction. Sarah's captain called her into his office, where two men in expensive suits waited. They identified themselves as federal agents, though they provided credentials Sarah couldn't verify. They wanted the box and all its contents classified as part of an ongoing federal investigation. Sarah refused. She had already made copies and secured them in multiple locations, following procedure but also following her instincts that this evidence needed protection beyond normal protocols. That night, someone broke into her apartment. Nothing was stolen, but the message was clear. Her files had been searched, her laptop accessed, and a note left on her kitchen counter. Some truth should stay buried. Marcus received similar treatment. His car was vandalized, and his family received threatening phone calls. Yet they continued their investigation, diving deeper into the web of connections that Jackson's evidence revealed. They interviewed retired musicians who confirmed Jackson's findings, people who had been too afraid to speak before but now saw an opportunity for justice. The testimonies painted a picture of an industry built on exploitation, where artists were commodities and creativity was controlled by a select few who profited while destroying lives. But the most shocking revelation came from an encrypted audio file they finally managed to decode. It was a recording of a conversation between Jackson and an unknown person, discussing the suspicious circumstances that might surround his death. Jackson's voice was calm but determined as he explained his fears and his plan to expose the truth posthumously. 3 months after Daniel Martinez first saw the glowing crypt, Sarah Chen stood before a packed press conference. Behind her sat representatives from the Jackson estate, music industry reformers, and victims who had finally found the courage to speak. The evidence had been verified, authenticated, and was now being released to the public. The impact was immediate and explosive. Major record labels faced investigations. Contracts were reviewed and deemed exploitative. Artists began coming forward with their own stories of manipulation and abuse. The industry that Michael Jackson had challenged in life was now being held accountable because of the truth he had protected in death. But Sarah had one more revelation to share. The glowing crypt, the mysterious appearance of the note. It hadn't been supernatural or impossible. Jackson had worked with a trusted engineer to create a time-delayed mechanism, a chemical reaction triggered by natural degradation over 15 years that would create the glow and release the hidden message. It was brilliant, meticulously planned, and executed perfectly. The friend who had helped him, now elderly and willing to speak, explained that Jackson had predicted his death might come sooner than natural causes would dictate. He had prepared for that possibility, creating a failsafe that would activate his plan whether he died naturally or otherwise. The evidence proved that while the official cause of death was acute propofol intoxication, the circumstances surrounding it were more complex than initially reported. As Sarah concluded the press conference, she thought about the security guard whose curiosity had started everything. Daniel Martinez had been afraid that night, but his courage to investigate had unlocked the truth that millions needed to hear. Michael Jackson's grave hadn't just held his remains. It had protected his final gift to the world. Proof that speaking truth to power matters, even when that truth must wait in darkness for years before seeing light. The king of pop had orchestrated one last performance, and this time, the whole world was listening.